Oh, what is going on? So, if you've seen the last video, the trial, my cousin's trial's over. That looks fine, right? Does that look fine? That looks fine. Anyway, so I want to recap it, tell you what happened. Well, this is gonna be a long video. So there's actually surveillance video of the whole incident, right? And of course, the prosecutor says this is what happened. The defense says this is what happened. I guess it's up to the jury to interpret everything they saw to decide what really happened. All the evidence has been laid out. The jury got the case yesterday, and they deliberated for a while, an hour or two. Didn't come up with a decision, so they sent everybody home. Come back, redo it on Tuesday because Monday is like a holiday or whatnot. Yeah, this is gonna be a long video. So anyway, so here is what happens in the video. Well, there's several videos. Well, here's the story, right? And then through me telling you this story, I'll tell you each side. I'm going to leave a lot of shit out because there was a lot of people that came out and said this, that, and the other. I'm just going to give you the gist of it all. And then, see what you would think about the situation. Either how you would react, or if you were on the jury, which way you would vote. And when the verdict that finally comes down, I'll tell you how it went. And we'll see, if you thought the same way as them or not. And I'll try to articulate it the best way I can, because this isn't the first time I've made this video today. But I don't edit very well, and I don't really like doing it. So I like to just do it all in one shot. And I watch it back sometimes I don't. But this one's kind of important, so I did watch it back. And I do a lot of pausing and ums and going back in time. And I'm going to try not to do that. I'm going to try to start from the beginning and go to the end and leave it at that. Now, before I do that, I'm going to tell you something else. Watch what the fuck you put on your phone. Whether you delete it, whether it's a picture, text message, something you wrote down in your notes, apps you download, phone calls you make. I mean, when they have your phone and they take it for evidence and are looking for shit on there, they will find everything. I mean, things from a long time ago. I don't know what software they use, but Jesus Christ, they had text messages that he had sent to people 2 years ago with pictures attached. And things that he wrote in notes that he had deleted that they still got out of there. I'm just telling you, because if you do anything wrong, they will go through your phone and find whatever they can that pertains to that situation and make you look bad. The best way they possibly can. I mean, it is their job, but that's what they're going to do. Even if it has nothing to do with the situation, they will find something close to it to say, oh, look, here's a pattern, right? Or something like that. So, but anyway. So May 10th, 2024 is when all this takes place. My Uncle Danny is in town from Florida because his daughter had a baby. So he comes in to see his new granddaughter. While he's here, my cousin Jimmy and his brother Mark, they contact him, say, hey, let's go out and get a couple drinks, let's get some food, let's catch up. You haven't been in town in a couple years. Okay? Okay, sounds good. So they meet up at this bar called Aces in North Homestead area. Homestead Falls, North Homestead, doesn't matter. North Homestead. Or Homestead Township. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So they meet up at Aces. So while they're at Aces, they get there about 3. Mark shows up about a half hour later. They order some drinks. They order some food, mozzarella sticks, pizza, wings, normal bar shit. They have some food, they have some drinks, they're there for a couple hours. They go to Joker's. They're there for a little bit. They drink some Gatorade, they have a drink, whatever. They leave there, they go back to Aces. They have another couple drinks, and they go back to Joker's, right? And then while they're at Joker's, the second time is when shit goes bad. Alright? I moved this fucking arm so I'm closer. Anyway. Then, oh yeah, when they go back to Joker's, that's when everything goes bad. So, this is over the course of about 8 hours, right? Because everything happens just before 11 p.m. on that Friday night. So, they say my cousin ordered about 15 drinks for himself. He says there's a few he didn't drink. So you say, 12 to 15 drinks over an 8-hour period is less than 2 drinks an hour. And this was like a sticking point for the prosecution. Like, they kept bringing it up, how many drinks he had had. And then the defense says, well, it was 2 drinks an hour, which isn't a lot when you break it down like that. If you would have drank 15 drinks in 3 hours, it's 5 drinks an hour, you'd probably be pretty shit-faced. So, the prosecutor wants to say his judgment was bad. The defense wants to say he was in perfect judgment, and this shit happened for this reason, okay? So while they're at Joker's the last time, before everything takes place, it's set up like there's an ATM machine, a bar table with 4 chairs, the jukebox that's up against the wall, and if you've been to a bar lately, you see how flat the jukeboxes are now, iTunes, jukebox, or whatever, then the table that my family's at. So, my cousin Mark goes to play the jukebox, and he needs money or whatever. So, he's talking to this table where these 2 individuals are at. Alright? We'll call them J and W. Alright? Because I don't want to use their real names. So, J and W are sitting at the table. Right? J's white, W's black. They're both really big guys. They're sitting at a table with their friends, having themselves a good time. And I don't know if there was like a talky-talk between them. I don't really remember how that came about. But anyway, they say that they think my cousin's eavesdropping on their conversation while he's at the ATM on the other side of their table. So Jay says, what if somebody called you the N-word, but he uses the actual word? And W says, I'd beat the fuck out of him, right? My cousin overhears this because they say it loud enough for him to hear, because they want him to hear. He gets offended. He's, pleading his case. I would never say that. I'm not that type of person. He even brings up the fact that he's Native American, because we're, Hopi Indian. He's like, I wouldn't do that, blah, blah, blah. So, W's version is, I told him, hey, I know you didn't say that. Everything's cool, go on about your day. Like, no, I know you didn't say that. Mark's version is, actually, I think Mark said he doesn't really remember. But anyway, other people's version is that he was like loud, was talking about, fucking people up, beating people to death, yada, yada, yada. So Mark gets his money from the ATM, goes to the bar to get his change. While he's at the bar, he's telling Jimmy, hey, these guys are trying to pick a fight with me. Mark gets his change and goes over to the jukebox machine, which is right next to J and W's table. Like, right there, because, bars are kind of tight places. And all this is on video, by the way. So then, you see Jimmy over there, Mark over there, they're talking to their group. And Jimmy's saying, my brother wouldn't say that. He's not that type of person. Mark's like, yeah, that's not me. And he's like picking his songs, right? And the whole time, they're talking about fucking people up from what they say. My cousin said. J and W has a different version, right? Then Jimmy says he could feel like things weren't going well, like this is about to be bad, it's time to go. Now, he says in his mind, he was afraid that when they walked out to leave, because his vehicle was parked so far away from the bar, he was afraid that they would leave the bar, follow them out, and then jump them, right? This is what he says he was afraid of. So he goes out to his vehicle and grabs his weapon, comes back inside, right? He grabs his 9mm handgun. Comes back inside. As he walks through, my Uncle Danny has been sitting at the table like this whole time, and he's drinking Coke. He's done drinking for the night, you know, in case he needs to drive home. That's what he's like, you know, I'm good. He doesn't drink that much. He had like 6 drinks throughout the whole night. He's drinking pop the last couple hours. He's good. He's chilling. Right? He's just hanging at the table, spending time with his nephews. Then, I guess while he was outside, Mark is still having a conversation with them, like trying to calm down the situation. W and others in the bar said Mark was all about peace, de-escalation. He wasn't trying to fight nobody. And my cousin Mark is a big guy. W is like 6'6", 380. My cousin Mark is like 6'1", 6'2", 280. Like, he's not a small guy. Well, so, see, this is why I deleted the last video, because I kept doing this. Anyway, so when Jimmy comes back in the bar, he walks up to my Uncle Danny, lifts up his sweatshirt to show him what he's got, and tells my uncle it's time to go. My uncle says he didn't notice it because he was looking up at him and was like, okay, like, let Mark know I'm ready to go. And, you know, Jimmy's telling him, like, things aren't good, we got to get out of here. Right? So he goes back over to Mark, which is still standing next to that table, still at the jukebox, right? And he's telling Mark, like, hey, pick your songs, let them play, but we gotta leave. Like, you can't listen to all the songs you picked. We gotta go. Like, I don't have a good feeling about this. It's time to go, right? W starts walking towards the end of the bar. So Jimmy says, I'm gonna go get my truck. I'm gonna pull it closer. We're gonna get the fuck out of here, right? He starts walking towards the end of the bar. W turns around, walks back towards Jimmy and headbutts him, right? He says he doesn't make contact. One angle looks like he does. One angle looks a little like he might, but barely. He says if I really would have headbutted him, his nose would be bleeding, right? Or something along that, you know. But, you know, then they step back. They both got their hands up. My cousin says he thinks W's like reaching at him. So he's like smacks his hands down, takes like 5 fucking, he's swinging haymakers. Misses completely. Every swing, right? So then my uncle sees this, he gets up and gets between them, he's trying to break them up. While this is happening, a bar stool falls over. W bends down to pick up the bar stool. My cousin takes another swing, misses. And when they asked him why he did that, he said he thought he was going to pick up the bar stool to hit either him or my uncle with it, right? Well, then they're going back and forth. Another lady walks up and goes up to W, and she's like trying to calm down the situation. And my cousin like steps back. W sets the bar stool on the bowling game. If you know what I'm talking about, there's like the pins come down from the top, and you like slide a puck type deal or like a ball type deal, and it hits these like metal things on the bottom, and the pins swing up. And if you've been to a bar and seen the game, you know what I'm talking about. So, you know, this lady comes up. My cousin is putting distance between them, right? The prosecution says he was pushing people in between them, but he's not shoving people. Like, as the lady walks by, he puts his hand on her, like guides her that way. And he's like backing up, like, okay. Backs up into the crowd. Then he's all the way at the other end of the bar by the front entrance. This is going on at the back entrance. While he's back by the front entrance, my cousin Mark starts making his way towards my Uncle Danny. Jimmy says he thinks Mark's going to get Danny, right? And you can tell by the way he's walking. He's not walking in an aggressive manner, okay? at this time, because the fight was happening, the barmaid's yelling, take it outside, they turn the music off, right? Then as my cousin Mark is walking that way, you hear somebody scream out, fuck him up, like real loud, right? Right as somebody says that, Jay reaches up, puts his left arm around Mark's like shoulder area, like across his body, and just hits him hard, right? You see his whole head go like this, his glasses go flying, then he's just bombing. He hits him like 5 times, bam, 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 repeatedly, right? And he's reaching way back behind him, like he's getting it in. And he's like basically riding his back while he's doing this. My cousin Jimmy is at the other end of the bar. He sees this, and then he says, and the video shows people going that way. The prosecution wants to say they were going that way to break it up. The defense wants to say, well, these were his friends. This is his bar. They were going to jump in, right? That's when my cousin steps forward, pulls his gun, and shoots 3 shots. He hits Jay in the shoulder and behind the ear. Jay drops. The 3rd shot goes into the bowling machine. Then Jimmy runs out the bar, gets in his truck with my Uncle Danny. They drive down the road to like a greenhouse that's right down the street. He's on the phone with 911. This is where I'm at. Come get me. He's freaking out. Right? You hear in the 911 call. He's upset. He's freaking out. He's trying to kind of plead his case to the 911 officer. Like, they were beating the fuck out of my brother. I just wanted him to stop. I didn't mean it. I didn't want this to happen. You know, like, and when he's on the stand testifying, he's saying the same thing. Like, I didn't mean to kill him. I didn't want to kill him. I just wanted him to stop. Right? I was aiming, you know, for his shoulder or wherever he was aiming. I should have shot him in the foot or just, you know, whatever. Or not at all would have been better. But it happened. It's a fucked up situation. It's horrible. So that's what happened, right? But there's so many witnesses and stuff that take things this way and then that way. So then I could go through each witness and how each lawyer broke down their testimony to help out the defense, or how the prosecution broke down the testimony to help them out, right? That's, you know, that's their job. Oh, you say this, oh, what about this, you know? At one point they say Jimmy came over, and when he was standing there talking to Mark, he was standing on W's shoe. Well, they had the video blowed up in the courtroom and was like, show us where this happens. And when his girlfriend was on the stand, she couldn't find it. But then the prosecution says, oh, is it right here? And she says, oh, yeah, there it is. And then, you know what I mean? So it was stuff like that. Somebody would say, oh, this happened. And the defense would be like, oh, well, show me where in the video. Oh, you can't find it? The prosecution would be like, oh, it's right here. And then he'd get back up and say, oh, so you can only find it if the prosecution helps you. Weird. Stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you say this, they say this. But it's all there on video. My cousin and W with their little skirmish. My cousin putting distance between them. The other guy jumping on my other cousin, blasting him. Jimmy shooting. Chaos. Running out the bar. They played several 911 calls. They had people from inside the bar in there. And that... So now the jury has all this information. They can request court transcripts to reread everybody's testimony, questions what was answered, how they were answered, all that stuff. They can watch the video, they can see the crime scene footage. I mean, they showed all this stuff. Some of it was so hard to watch. I don't know how Jay's family sat there and watched these videos and seen these pictures and kept their composure. I don't know how. Like, it's rough. It's a rough situation. And I feel so bad for them. But then also, it's like, was it self-defense or in defense of others? Because that's his case. He never said, no, I didn't shoot him. He said, I shot him, but this is why, and why I shouldn't be in trouble. It's not up to him to decide. It's not up to the lawyers to decide. It's up to these 12 jurors to decide. Here's another aspect of trial that I didn't know, that I had wrong, right? When they go through the jury process, they pick the 12 jurors and 2 alternates. One of the jurors was dismissed by the judge due to child care issues. So now you have 12 jurors and 1 alternate. I thought at the beginning, when they picked the jury, these are the 12 jurors, you 2 are the alternates. And they know from the beginning. Well, at the end of the trial, the judge handed out cards and said, if you have this card, you're the alternate. So they didn't know until the end. And I was like, that's weird. I thought they knew at the beginning. The guy from the newspaper, the Chronicle Telegram in Elyria, that has been there every day, and he's wrote like the stories, and to the newspaper guy's credit, he wrote them out as things happened in the way they happened. So at the beginning of the trial, when it was the prosecution up there, he wrote it as their point of view. And then when the defense would do things, he would write the story in their point of view. So he stayed very unbiased, which is good, right? Because I read them all as they came out. Then, yeah, so I was asking, like, wow, that's weird. I thought, and he like slid over on the little the seat, and he was like, yeah, they used to do it that way, but they changed it because if they knew they were an alternate, they wouldn't pay attention. They would just sit there because they didn't think they were needed. And then if something happened at the end of the trial or during deliberation, and they said, okay, you're in there, you got to help make the decision, they didn't know anything because they didn't pay attention. So it made things rough. So now you don't know until the very end, which I understand. I get it. That way you have to pay attention because you don't know if you're going to be an alternate or not. So you got to pay attention as if you're one of those jurors making this decision. It makes sense. It really does. So, yeah, that's what's happening. And like I said, when I want to know your thoughts, opinions. It's a tragedy that should have never happened, but it did, and this is where we're at with it. Obviously, I don't want my cousin to go to prison for the rest of his life. And obviously, Jay's family wants him to go to prison for a long time. Because if the roles were reversed, I'd be like, yeah, this guy needs to go to prison forever. But that's just when you're on one side or the other, and you got to try to put yourself in the other people's shoes and understand. And it's a horrible thing that I'm sure everybody wished didn't happen, but that's not the case. And it sucks. So now we got a long weekend to sit and wait and see what happens, So when I find out, like I said, I'll let you guys know how it goes. But I would really like your opinions. Good or bad. You know what I mean? Good. I'm here for it all, baby. I'm here for it all. So I'll be back soon. I hope you guys all have a good weekend, as it is Saturday afternoon. So I'll be back soon.